way debt high level works, and again, I'm not an expert, so don't crucify me if I get something slightly wrong or if I'm slightly off. The Treasuries is the index that a lot of mortgages follow, and the way it works is the people that are lending on mortgages will actually borrow money from the Treasuries at a certain yield, and then they'll take a spread and lend it out at someone else. They may not be all the money, it may be part of the money, irrelevant. But as the yields come down, they can borrow cheaper and cheaper. They can then lend it out at cheaper and cheaper because they are still making their 2% spread or 2.5% spread or 250 bips. Some people will sometimes say. So it really depends how it works. But high levels, as the Treasury comes down, if the spread stays consistent, interest rates will come down. However, what we've been seeing in the last 1 to 2 weeks is because as rental property and commercial real estate has become more risky, spreads have gotten wider. So even as Treasuries came down to record lows, you saw that mortgage rates actually bounced back up because lenders wanted a larger spread for the perceived risk in the properties they were lending on. So where 2 to 4 weeks ago, you could, at least on commercial real estate and multifamily, you could get mortgage rates in the low 3%, mid 3%. You're not seeing that anymore because people are seeing perceived risk. And now instead of a 2.5% spread, arbitrary number, they now want a 3.5% spread. Again, arbitrary number. So that's how that kind of works. How will that impact markets? What we started to see was as interest rates were coming down, people were claiming you could buy at a lower cap rate because theoretically, it's the same way it works for multifamily. If I can borrow money at 4% and I'm buying a property at a 6% cap rate, what a cap rate is saying is if I buy this property all cash, I'll make 6%. But now what happens is I'm borrowing a chunk at 4% and I'm going to make the spread between the 4 and the 6, and it's going to leverage up my cash flow return on those properties. However, the problem becomes if you continually come down on cap rates, if interest rates ever come back up, it's tough to add enough value that your cap rate in the future will make up the premium you paid today. So if you buy it for a 4.5 cap today, maybe you improve the property and you get it up to a 5.5 cap or a 6 cap or something like that. If cap rates come all the way back up because interest rates come back up, right? I'm not going to buy at a 5 cap if I'm borrowing debt at 5. That doesn't make sense. Or even go negative, right? If I'm borrowing money at 5.5, I'm no longer buying properties at 4.5 caps. My cap rate on that property is going to increase and artificially lower the value because where I can borrow money at is creeping higher and higher and higher. So what we started to see was people trying to sell lower and lower cap rates. I don't know if many actually sold in that range. But that was kind of what started happening. And then obviously coronavirus came and uncertainty came and kind of wiped that out. And, we've kind of put a little bit of a halt on, buying deals right now because we're a little uncertain. We're only just closing on the one we have. But there was a lot of effort to try and continue to compress cap rates from brokers, from sellers, from intermediaries, things like that. So that was what we started to see. And then it kind of got wiped out. So just keep that in mind as you're buying deals. Look at historically where cap rates were 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, because if interest rates start to creep back up, that's where cap rates are going to go for commercial real estate.